Let's talk about public safety. This is something you obviously talked about in your address. It's something that people are living every day. Just last night, about 15 minutes from where we are right now, there was a shooting at a pizza shop, and a mom and daughter were both shot, and witnesses were able to subdue a 19-year-old suspect. What do you do about kids with guns?
Well, first off, we have to say that the level of violence is unacceptable, and understand that we have to address this. We have to come at it in a multitude of ways. When I delivered my budget address last week, I made clear that people have a right to both be safe and feel safe, and we have a responsibility to deliver. We have to do that in a multi-pronged way. It's about making sure our kids have mental health services in their schools. We're funding that. It's about making sure that we invest in violence prevention initiatives in our communities. We're putting over $100 million this year through what's known as the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for grants in direct community efforts to try and stem this violence. I also said we need to hire more police. I've been very aggressive about that. And so we're going to have 4 new state police cadet classes. That's over 400 new state troopers. We are also putting a tax credit in the budget for new police officers, by the way, along with new nurses and teachers as well. But for new police officers, you'll be able to get up to $2,500 in immediate tax breaks for each of the next 3 years. We need to grow our ranks of police. They need to be properly trained, and we're going to be pushing departments to go through what's known as accreditation, which is the highest standard of training. So
police
I think
departments, though, are competing with each other, and also even with other police departments from out of the state. How do you grow those ranks?
By doing exactly what I said, showing people both here in Pennsylvania and outside that we want you to work as a police officer in Pennsylvania, and we'll put our money where our mouth is. We'll give you a tax credit. We'll invest in our state police so we have more state troopers coming through. We'll have more resources coming through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency to be able to retain police officers in their particular municipality so they don't flee to another municipality where maybe pay is a few $1,000s higher. Policing is a noble profession. We need to treat it that way. We need to marry up that work with important work on mental health in our schools and important initiatives when it comes to economic growth and development in communities that have been left behind. My budget represents a comprehensive look at trying to address violence. Now look, a lot of this work is going to be done in the local communities. We're going to support them as well, but the state has a role to play, and we're going to be very aggressive at that.
You talked about the impact of not having enough police officers, public servants, teachers, nurses. And one of the things that you talked about in your address, you talked about the example of a cop being forced to walk a beat alone, and that is unacceptable. That was the situation that Officer Christopher Fitzgerald was in at Temple. Do you think that police departments should commit to only sending officers out in pairs?
Well, first off, may Officer Fitzgerald's memory be a blessing. I've spent a lot of time speaking with the Fitzgerald family. I was honored to be able to eulogize Chris Fitzgerald at his funeral last week. Chris Fitzgerald didn't deserve to die. He was doing everything right. And I think whether it's Officer Fitzgerald or any other police officer, we have a responsibility to invest in their safety and security. That means more personnel so they don't have to walk the beat alone. That means more training, more technology, more resources so that they can stay safe. Ultimately, a police chief in a particular municipality, or in this case, college, is going to make the decision as to how they deploy resources and how they deploy their women and men in uniform. They will make that judgment. The state won't. But I want to make sure that they have enough resources to ensure that cops don't have to walk the beat alone, whether at Temple University or anywhere else. We have to invest more in policing. My budget does that. And I think it's important to note that when I spoke about all the different investments we want to make in violence prevention, from the community-based programs to investing more in police, that was a moment of bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans alike took to their feet to applaud. They were applauding not me, not Governor Shapiro, but are women and men in blue who deserve better and deserve more, and this budget will deliver for them.
A couple days before his death, you had announced that you would not, during your term as governor, issue any warrants for the death penalty, sign any death penalty warrants. And there have been some calls for an automatic death penalty when someone kills a police officer. Given what we just saw happen with Christopher Fitzgerald, do you still feel that way? Do you feel that his killer should not get the death penalty?
Well, look, obviously it's not my place to comment on individual cases. That's up to the local prosecutors to make those decisions. But I do still feel that I will not sign any death warrants as governor. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. And I'm going to speak generally, not about any individual cases. And I want to make clear that my comments have nothing to do with the integrity of any conviction. I'm not suggesting anyone on death row is innocent. I'm just simply suggesting that I'm simply stating as a matter of fact that as governor, I will not sign any execution warrants. Here's why. I campaigned for Attorney General in 2016 very openly about the fact that I thought that the death penalty was a just punishment and it should be reserved for the most heinous of cases. As Attorney General, there were cases that came across my desk, and I just found more and more that I wasn't able to pursue the death penalty on these cases. And then Tree of Life happened, the massacre at the synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 11 people were murdered while they worshiped. And my immediate reaction was to say that the death penalty should be pursued by federal prosecutors in that case. The more I thought about the issue, the more I thought about the idea of the state being in the business of putting people to death, the more questions I got, candidly, Lauren, from my then probably 10 or 11-year-old son, asking me, why is it okay to kill someone as a penalty for them killing someone else? And when I couldn't look them in the eye, when I couldn't pursue the death penalty in the various cases I had as Attorney General, when you look at the system in its totality and all of the challenges therein, I just ultimately felt that this was not something I could do as governor. Now, I campaigned as governor on someone who was opposed to death penalty, so I let the good people of Pennsylvania know what my position was when I asked them for their vote. And then ultimately, a few weeks ago, when that first execution warrant came across my desk, I just thought, not only could I not sign this, it was important for me to tell the good people of Pennsylvania where I stand and why, as well as to respectfully call on the legislature to work with me on abolishing the death penalty.
All right, as we wrap up, just one political thing. Your former opponent, Doug Mastriano, is reportedly considering a Senate run. What do you think about having him on a statewide ballot again?
I mean, I was not aware of that. I guess we'll see. I think he didn't fare too well last time, and I'd put my money on Bob Casey. I'll be a strong supporter of Senator Casey's going forward.
The House Republican leader Brian Cutler had this response on Tuesday to the governor's budget address. He said, quote, "What we heard today from Governor Shapiro was a starting point that will end in a final budget that reflects no one person's spending priorities or legislative agenda, but a budget that is reflective of the divided government we have. But one thing is for certain, we will not abandon our core principles that have made Republicans the trusted fiscal stewards we are. We must work to prudently conserve what we have of our financial success so we do not go back to taxpayers for more when they are already struggling."